Hello sewers, my name is Kimberly and this is the Pattern Niche YouTube channel, formerly known as New Horizons Designs. Today we're sewing the Unstudied Knot Tee. This t-shirt comes in women's sizes and is good with 25% two-way stretch fabrics. The amount of fabric needed is going to vary depending on the size that you're making, and always remember to pre-wash your fabrics. I want to encourage you, if you'd like to keep seeing our content, make sure you click that subscribe button. And of course, if you like what you see in this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. First things first, we need to cut our pattern. A couple of things to remember when you're using a PDF pattern. First of all, if you're printing it, make sure that you're using 100% scale in your print dialog to make sure that it prints full size, and that you choose the appropriate file that you're going to match your paper size, so either the A4 or the letter format file. And then make sure as well to, if you use the layers feature in Adobe Acrobat, you can actually unselect all of the sizes that you don't need anymore, and it makes it much easier to trace just the size that you need, or sizes if you're grading between sizes. If you're using a projector like I do, then make sure that you have your zoom set correctly and make sure to check your grid. Always make sure to transfer your markings, either method, such as your notches and any other markings, to the pattern pieces so that you get all of your matching points. So now go ahead and cut your pieces. I'm not going to go into great detail about grading between sizes or lengthening and shortening your pattern pieces to cut, because we do have some great videos on those topics already, and you can reference them here. And they will also be in the description box below. So to make the Unstudied Knot Tee, you will need one of the bodice pieces cut on the fold, 2 of your back facings cut on the fold, and 4 of your front facings cut on fold. And generally speaking, you're going to mirror these so that you get a right and a left. And then you also need stretch needles or ballpoint needles and some clear elastic or interfacing. Now that we have our pattern pieces cut, we are going to start with stabilizing the neckline. So there's 2 methods of doing this. You can either use clear elastic, and that's the method I'm going to do, or you can cut a bit of interfacing to match the neckline seam allowance on the pieces, both the front and the back pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch with a zigzag stitch this clear elastic into the seam allowance of the neckline on one back yoke piece and 2 mirrored front yoke pieces. As you can see here, I'm just going to line up the edge of the elastic with the edge of my pattern piece. This is 3/8 inch wide elastic, or 1 millimeter wide. So it'll be perfect for the size of the seam allowance. All of the seam allowances on this top are 3/8 of an inch unless otherwise specified. So I'm just going to go ahead and use my zigzag stitch to stitch this on. Make sure that you're not stretching the clear elastic as you stitch. And there I have my elastic stitched into the back neckline. Next, we're going to take our front yoke pieces and we're going to match up the center front seam, which is that really long straight seam. And we're going to do that for both of the sets of front yoke, and we're going to stitch down that center front. And I'm using a lightning bolt stitch for my stretch stitch. Remember not to ever sew over pins, because you don't want the needle to hit the pin and break and shoot a piece of needle in your eye. And plus, if pins bend into your machine, it can be a really expensive fix to get them back out again. Then we're gonna take and open this up. When I forgot to mention, that's right sides together. We're gonna take and open this up, and we're going to stitch the shoulder seams of each of the facing pieces together now. This is basically what your yoke pieces will look like as they're put together, and I'm just going to give all my seam allowances a press, and I'm going to press them open to make them look really nice when they're finished. Now I have placed my 2 sets of yokes right sides together. As you can see here, they're right sides together, and I'm just going to stitch around this neckline, pivoting at the V here. Now that my yoke is stitched around the neck edge, I'm going to take and I'm going to clip around the curves, making sure that I'm not going in past the stitching. So I'm going to clip all the way around my seam allowance so that it gives movement when we switch it, flip it inside out. Here you can see I have flipped my yoke and pressed it flat, and it is ready to be attached to the bodice. So as you can see here, I've got the bodice laying on my table, and this is the bodice center front here, and the neckline going around to the back. So I'm going to match this up. I'm going to start here, and then I'm going to match my notches all the way around until I get all the way around stitched. And so I'm going to pin that, and I'm going to stitch it right sides together. So this is the right side of my yoke facing. I am going to take my shirt like this and match it up down here and go from there all the way around the neckline. I folded up the 3/4 of an inch all the way along the front hem, and it is ready to stitch. Now for the fun part. This is where we make the knot. So we're going to take one of the front protrusions, and we're going to wrap it over top of the other one, and then back again. And we're going to flip these so that their right sides end up together. What we will do is we will take and stitch this section here and this section over here, from here to here, leaving about a 1/2 inch opening on each side, give or take, for the knot. Now we have our knot. Then I'm going to take my bodice, I'm going to fold it in half to match the side seams. And keep in mind that the back piece is not hemmed yet, so it's going to be 3/4 of an inch longer than the front piece. I'm going to pin that together and stitch both sides. Now that our side seams are stitched together, I'm going to press the seam towards the back of the shirt. And all that's left is hemming up the back. So I'm going to press up that 3/4 of an inch all the way around the back and stitch it. And the same thing with the armholes. Fold up 3/4 of an inch, press it if you'd like, and stitch around, and your shirt is done. And here we have our completed unstudied knot tee. Thank you for watching.